Oh. Okay, Mona.
Got to tell it.
Are you right there?
I'm ready now. What were you saying?
Oh. Queen in Les, well, we went to live in Paul's place. We went to live in there anyway, in the new houses. It's the newest housing estate. Now, where your dad lived, that wasn't built then. And when that was finished, when ours was all finished, we lived there, they started building Bailey Drive. And that was behind us.
Where's this, in Kent, isn't it?
No, in Liverpool, outside Liverpool.
Oh, right.
It was called, Knowsley Park, was it? No, not Knowsley Park. Lineker Park, I think it was called. And we lived in the house there, you know, the road there, just behind. Well, in the next road they built was Bailey Drive. And that's where your mum and dad, your grandpa and grandpa came with the family. And they lived there. There was Uncle George, and there was Robert Stanley, that was Sadie's husband. And there was the girl, you know, the sister. Two sisters, there was Ruth.
Right.
There was Ruth and the other sister. And that was the family then. And they lived there, and of course we got to know them. John was in the Sky and the Rovers. We were in the Guides and John was in the Rovers. And of course he got to know all these boys, you see. Right. And he got to know Les and a chap called Lindsay, I think, or something. There's 3 or 4 of them. And then they all used to knock about together. And they used to, lots of them used to come to our house. They always liked coming to our house.
Is that north of the main part of Liverpool, or
it's I don't know what it's called.
towards Southport?
Yes, that's right. We used to go through the woods to Southport.
Bloody hell.
Yes,
There's not too many woods down there.
We used to ride our bikes through there.
Yeah, right.
And right through the woods. I remember all the little tiny flies used to get in your eyes, you know.
Right.
And then, well, after we were growing up, and Les was there, we met Les, and Les came round with our John and the boys, and then we all used to go to pictures together and all that sort of thing, you know.
And what age were you
Well, of course I didn't go out so much with them. It was Queenie, you see.
I'm trying to picture it a little bit like where it was, because I know the centre of Liverpool, and then there's the main road that heads towards Southport.
A great big road at the bottom. There was Birkenhead, not Birkenhead, no, that's across the water. There was Waterloo, and then there was Seaporth. Now from Seaporth, which was a big shipbuilding, they were all shipbuilding along there. They had a great big overhead railway, right through from Seaporth, all the way into town to Liverpool, right there. Great big one.
So both Mum and Dad, so your family
this is when
lived
we
in
moved.
Liverpool, right? Okay.
No, we went from where we were. What's the name of the road now? I forget. I was only 2.
Yeah.
I was 2 when we left there, and our father was killed. My and Queenie's father and John.
Right.
And we went to the Isle of Man to live.
Oh,
Now
right,
we lived there for about at least 5 years. I think I was 7 when we came back. Now we came back to Bootle. Grandma came back, and then we came, and we stayed with her until we got this new house. So we moved up to, I think it was called Lineker Park, and it was a fair way from there, away from Bootle.
Yeah.
Stanley Road was the name of the big road.
Yeah.
Across there, Stanley Road, like that. And then you came right up this other place, and into what we call, I'm sure it's called Lineker Park. They were all brand new houses.
Yeah.
Now there's Percy Durham, you've heard of Percy Durham?
Yeah, I've heard that name, yeah.
Well, he lived in Bailey Drive, like his other family. And we met Les, of course, and he used to come to our house with all the boys. I was only about 13 when he first came. And then he met Queenie, and from then on it was Queenie all the time. He thought the world of Queenie.
And they went out with each other for 10 years?
They went out for 10 years. You see, he had to do his, save his time for a start-off, Carlton joiner. And he had to serve 5 years then.
Would have been, yeah.
So he served his time for, I think he was 21 when he came out, something like that. And then they waited till the 25. He was a few months younger than your mum. Your dad would have been 67 in November, this next November. Would have been 87, I was
going to say.
87.
Yeah.
And, because Queenie and I were 2 years, nearly 2 years between us.
Yeah.
And John, Queenie and I were 2 years. And then they courted for 10 years. But they had a lovely time.
So where was Brown Hill Farm? I mean,
Oh,
bloody,
that was another place.
This bloody Brown Hill Farm.
No, that was another.
I've got to go there one day.
That was another district altogether.
Right, okay.
It's nowhere near where we
Oh,
live.
right, okay.
Nowhere
But
near.
was that after they were married, or?
Yes. And from there, they used to go out with your grandpa before they got married. They had a marvellous time. He had a boat.
Yeah.
And they used to go up and
On the
down the canal
canals,
on
yeah.
holidays and that.
It was an old lifeboat or something that you converted.
It was a big boat, yes.
Yeah, lifeboat.
They had a marvellous time. And they caught it for 10 years. Then they got married in May 1937.
Right.
I'm sure it was May. And then from there they went to live in just outside Ormskirk. They got a new house there.
All right. So that was a fairly big move in those days.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh yes.
because Ormskirk would have been quite a long way away.
Well, it wasn't too far really, not from
Yeah.
where we lived in Walton Bear. We didn't live in Walton Bear. We lived in Lincoln Park.
Ormskirk's all one-way streets now.
Well, that's all there. I wouldn't have a clue because I've never been back for years. And from there, we went to Waterloo after that, where Graham Allen was born.
Right, where's Waterloo?
Waterloo. Well, Seaport was there where all the ships were.
Yeah.
And you turn to the right in Waterloo. Now, from Waterloo, you go to Crosby. From Crosby to Birkdale, I think, where they have big golf, I think it is.
Oh
Huge golf thing.
yeah. And then
And then you
Southport.
turn the corner in Southport.
Yeah.
That's
We were
right.
there actually when the golf was about to start.
Oh, was it? Yes. And then round the corner from there is Southport.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, if you came this back ways, you have to go through the woods.
That's right.
It's a big woods there.
Well, that's where Sadie's sister Mona lives.
Yes.
Out there,
That's right.
out the back of Ormskirk.
Yes.
Well, sort of between Ormskirk and Liverpool.
Yes. And well, Liverpool Road was where Sadie lived when she got married. She lived in that house, and then when Pat grew up and got married, she lived next door. That's where the twins were born.
So, did Mum and Dad get married in Liverpool?
Yes, no, actually out in Ormskirk.
Ormskirk.
There, yes.
Oh, right.
It was outside Walton Vale, out that way, down there. I think it was
Right.
more to Ormskirk where they got married, because there's a new house there. They got a new house.
And then where did they get? Oh, they bought a new house there.
Yes. And Elsie went to live with them, Elsie and John. They
Oh,
sort
right.
of lived together, you know,
Yeah.
for a while. And then from here, your mum went to Waterloo. That was near the sea.
Yeah.
And my mum and everybody, we all moved to Waterloo. And Mum got a big 4-storey place there. It's all of us, gang. And then Queenie came down to Waterloo. She lived there, and that's where Alan was born, down there. And then from there, where did she go next? She lived there. And you see, we didn't live a great long time in Liverpool.
No.
I was there till I got married. I was there, no, I was in the Isle of Man, you see, for 5 years. And I got married when I was 18. And from 18...
The Isle of Man would have been a pretty isolated place in those days, isn't it?
Well, it was a very sort of old-fashioned.
Yeah.
They had buses. And Mother
Oh,
said
they?
if you went for the bus and you were a bit late behind, he'd stop and wait for you. And we lived in, if you want to know where we lived there, we went to Port Douglas, we lived in Douglas, and there was a camp there called Knockalow Camp Peel. In Peel, that was the first place.
Yeah.
Knockalow Camp Peel, and I thought it was not refugees, I thought it was prisoners sort of thing, but it wasn't. You know, people who were, when the war's on and you're of different nationality, and you're all put in one place. Interned, is it called?
Internment camp.
Internment.
Yeah.
And that's where Dad went, you see, Dad Philwine, and Grandma went over there to live and said, come on, when my dad died, come over here. That's how we came to go to the Isle of Man. And of course then we came back and we grew up, and I got married in Waterloo.
Yeah.
When we all went to Waterloo and Alan was born,
So what was your maiden name?
Mac Giveron.
I'm a Giveron, that's right, of course.
Do you know I couldn't remember?
So was your mother's.
I went to
Obviously.
I went to fill a form in one day and I
Yeah.
couldn't remember every single
Yeah.
Your
name.
grandmother married how many men?
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, of course, there was my dad, then there was Dad Philwine, and then there was Dad Chetwynd, and then there was Dad Higgins.
Higgins, yeah.
You remember Higgins?
Oh, Bill? No.
Sid, his name...
Sid Higgins.
Well, yes, that's right. We didn't
God,
know
he
his
was a-
name was Sydney, we all called him something else.
God, he was a crusty old bugger.
Jim, I think.
He was a crusty old bugger.
Yes.
He was the one I remember because
You were only little.
I always have these memories of going down to meet people at Port Adelaide with ships
Yes.
coming in. And
And we
there
met
was
Mum-
forever somebody coming in or going out or something, you know. It was every other bloody week we were down seeing somebody going out in a ship, you know.
Yes.
And I sort of, I mean, I don't remember who they were. I can remember.
Do you remember the other couple? Well, we went to see Mum and Dad off. They went back to England after 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they came back again after 2 years in England.
Yeah.
They paid their own fare and came back again, you see. Because you couldn't come twice on a emigration, you know. So, and then there was, you remember that lady Mum and Dad knew in Ashford? And they came to, you remember them, they came to outside Melbourne.
Yeah, the Fullers.
Hilda and Horace, was it?
Oh yeah, Hilda and Horace.
Hilda and Horace.
So they came from Ashford, did they?
Yes, they lived near you.
Oh, right,
when you were born, yes. And they came from Ashford, and then you went to meet them on the boat.
Yeah, that's right.
They went to live outside Melbourne.
Yeah.
And they lived on
Gary.
At the peninsula.
Well, Chris lives in northern New South Wales.
Is she there now? Yes. I don't know where the boy went.
When Hilda died, we went down to her funeral.
Yes.
In northern New South Wales.
Oh yes.
And
I was up there, coming up on off the Pacific Highway.
Yeah.
She went to live there, and they'd plenty of ground. Her mother-in-law.
That's right. Yeah.
And then her mum and dad came up.
Yeah.
They bought a house on the ground, or
That's
built
right.
one.
That's right.
And she died there, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
I did say, didn't I, that your mum caught you for 10 years before they got married?
Yeah, 10 years, eh? So,
yes. Oh, yes.
That's a long time, eh?
That's right. Well, I knew Arthur from 15.
Because that would have been, what year did they get married, did you say?
37.
37, so it was before the Second World War, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. That's when Eric got engaged, you see, to Edna. And that was before the war, you see. Cause he was
I know Dad would never ever talk about the war until one day, actually not long before he died, and he just sort of said to me that he'd seen things in London that he just never ever wanted to remember.
He didn't, no. I think that's
and that's why he didn't talk about it.
I think that's what's happened to Robert.
Yeah.
He saw things in Vietnam.
Yeah.
He never talks about Vietnam.
No.
No, never talks about it. And I really think that's what it is. They see things that you don't want to tell other people. Well, I've been telling Yvonne, I said, no one knows what we went through in the war.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just a war abroad, like the first one.
No.
And you see, your dad went to London to work, yes. He wasn't living there, of course. And he went to London, and they was repairing all these places that were bombed.
Yeah.
Oh,
He'd done a lot of work there. And and we were in Aintree then. I lived in Aintree by the race course.
Oh, yeah.
Melling Road, it's called Melling Road. And we went from there to, all through the war we were there. And then we got a bit tired at the end of the war. So Mother moved to Stalybridge, because we used to follow Mother everywhere she went.
Yeah.
And moved to Stalybridge, where Dad Chetwynd came from.
Oh, okay.
But he was a top station master in England after she married, just before she married him. Yeah. No, after he'd retired when Mother met him. And then from there we went to where'd you go from there now? She went to Stalybridge.
I hate to keep harping on it. But where the hell was Brown Hill Farm?
Well, I'm coming to that.
You've got to go through it's like a...
You see, you've got to follow. Now, Stalybridge was where Graham was born. Graham was born in Stalybridge. Now, we went to a place in Stalybridge called North End. And we had to go along this place, sort of out in the country. We had a river on one side and a canal on the other. And of course, we weren't far from Leslie and Queenie, you know. We just used to have to walk up that road between theirs. Yeah. And then we all started on the move again. Elsie moved to this place, it's Derbyshire actually. She moved, it's gone back to Derbyshire. They changed it, now they put it back again to High Peak, Derbyshire. Right. They went over there. And from there, Elsie was living on top of a hill, great big hill on a farm. And this house, halfway down, was called Brown Hill Farm. Right. They didn't use the farm, they didn't sell it to the farm, but they rented this house. They rented the house out, you see, the farmhouse. Nice big place. Well, that's where your mother went there. She went there. And you were born then, you see. And she lived there, and then we went, where did we go now? Queenie went, I don't know whether she's still there. No, she couldn't have been. Well, she came to that house. She came to us after.
I thought they were living in Herne Bay when I was born.
No. No, she came after. Because we went to, Elsie left and went there, and your mum went there. Now we decided to go to him, after Dorothy was living at Mother's house on Pier Avenue.
So where does Dorothy fit in? How does she, what part? She's not your sister, is she?
Well, little sister, but half sister.
Ah,
Different
right,
fathers.
okay. Right, okay.
There was only John, Queenie and I, Dad
Okay.
Gibbon.
Yep.
And their father, Mother met him in the Isle of Man, you
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
She married him. And then this, this Marjorie, she died in England, didn't she, a few years ago, just after your mum. There was Marjorie,
Yeah, I don't know.
Dorothy, Rita, Josephine and Bernard. They were all born in that place while Queenie was going out with your dad, all them
right.
years. They were born there. Of course, we went to
She's a
Waterloo.
big family, wasn't it? Was it? Josie?
Marjorie, Dorothy, Rita, Josephine and Bernard.
Yeah.
They were all there. She'd already had two to dad and then died, yes. That Chetland, someone. And so when they were at Staley Bridge, and then they went on to Brown Hill. Dad died in Staley Bridge, Dad Chetland, Mother buried him there. And from there they went to Brown Hill. Now we went to Herne Bay, and we stayed at Pier Avenue with Mum, waiting for a new house. You know, we always put our name down when we went in.
Yeah.
And we were waiting for a new house, and then Queenie came from there, Brown Hill. No, Elsie never left there. She's still in the same house. That's right, she never left there. Your mum and dad came to Ashford in Kent, and that's where you were born.
Yeah.
So he's from Kent.
Yes. From Ashford, yes, he's a Kent man. So from Ashford in Kent, and then from there we had a new house, Sunny Hill Road. We got a nice new house then, and that we lived in a few years. And then Dad and Queenie decided that they didn't like where they were. Bernard's still there. Bernard was living there as well. And they decided they'd go to Australia, you see. So they made all the arrangements and everything. You were on your baby. And then they went to Australia, and of course they kept writing letters to us, you know. Did we want to come out, you see? So then when I went to Herne Bay, I said to Arthur, if you take me to Herne Bay, I'll never ask you to move. And then I asked him to move to Australia.
Well, it wasn't bad.
So from Herne Bay, we went after your mum and dad, you see. And then all the rest followed.
Must have been a big move in those days to...
Well, I never
40, weren't you, Mum? How old were you when you came?
41, I think, or 42. 42.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
I was 42. But we'd always been on the move, you see.
Yeah.
Mother must have moved about 100 times. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
Anyone in the family will tell you that.
And they had the greatest holiday of their life on this cruise.
Always on the move. Your mum had a terrible time. She came on the old Georgie. It was absolute murder when he was a baby.
Right, you told me that.
Ex-troop
It
ship.
was dreadful. Next troop ship. No stabilisers, no air conditioning. People were lying on the tops of the decks coming through the Suez Canal.
Oh no.
Queuing up for milk and a drink for the children.
Yeah.
It was absolute mess. They had a
What
terrible
year was
time.
that, Mum?
55.
That would be 55, when we came 57. I think
Oh, so you're
June-
only 2 years
June
after, eh?
55. We came, let's see, June 55, and we came in January. 18 months we were here before we came.
Yeah.
We came in Australia.
And it was, we put it in record, it was definitely Alan and Queenie's fault that she went to South Australia, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, it was definite. You see, what happened was, your dad was the first to come, of course, and he wanted to come here to Brisbane, you see, to Queensland. And this bloke in England said, oh, I wouldn't go up there. He said, it's terrible. He said, the humidity is an absolute murder. He said, it's so hot.
Yeah.
Your dad was always mad about that, you know. So that's how he decided to go to South Australia.
So it's on the record, that's how.
Yes. So we came after, you see. We got a new house there.
They got the time of the movie wrong. They thought it started at 1:45 and it didn't start till 1:35.
Oh,
So I've been
Lynn.
sitting in the foyer with at the theatre.
Oh, what a shame.
We're back to the history of the...
We're having the history of the family.
Now, where was I up to?
You were up
Oh,
to
your
when
dad
you-
was supposed to come to Brisbane and
Yeah.
he didn't.
Oh, we've had a wonderful
That's
time.
right.
I've cut some fruit up.
So, of course, we came to South Australia, didn't we?
all the time. 'Cause
And that's when you got married?
mother and brother.
Oh,
yeah.
so a
Where
while
you got
after that.
married?
Yeah, a while
Oh,
after
you were
that.
only 1 year old when you
Yeah,
came out.
yeah.
You were only baby.
I know, you know, I used to hear stories about this, and the Brown Hill Farm, again, I hate to keep harping on it, but there must have been a great place because I always used to hear people talk about it.
It was,
About these long hills that they used to walk.
well, it's mountains, you see.
Yeah.
Well, I don't call them mountains. It's a great big hill. So
Yeah.
you see like that, you know,
Yeah.
and the snow gets on in winter. That's Derbyshire.
Yeah.
See, Elsie's still there. She's just in the same house all them years.
Who's Elsie, Mum?
Our John's wife. Elsie, Miss McGibbon, Elsie McGibbon.
So that would be your auntie.
Yes.
God knows.
Yes,
Auntie
it is.
Elsie.
Yeah.
Auntie Elsie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He knows Auntie Elsie, yes.
So
Yeah.
John's your natural
brother,
brother, isn't
yes,
it?
yes.
And that's Queenie's natural brother,
That's
isn't it?
right,
Yeah.
yes. Yes,
So
Auntie
that's
Elsie and
good.
Uncle John.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
of course,
right.
he's gone now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Well, you have to try and get there when you go over to England. You go
Yeah.
to
I
Brown
think
Hill.
Derbyshire.
Yeah.
Yes, she's still alive,
Yeah.
87.
And you still live in that area that...
Still in the same house.
Brian, Wealthy Brian?
And where she is now, Brown Hill was up the hill like that. You
Oh,
see
right,
that
okay.
hill sort of
Yeah.
up the hill?
What
And-
type of country was it, Mum?
Oh, beautiful. Derbyshire's one where they go on holiday. You climbing, you know,
Yeah.
mountains.
Rolling
whatever you like to
hills.
Is
call
that,
them.
so Derbyshire is, I'm trying to think where it is actually.
Oh, Derbyshire's a beautiful place.
Yeah, whereabouts in England is it? That's sort of south west.
Stockport, away from Stockport is one of the main places.
Yeah.
And then further on from there was Macclesfield, where Pat had that house.
Oh, yeah, we drove through that.
See, yes.
Yeah.
And then further on from that is
She's still got the
Stockport.
bloody house.
Yeah, I thought she'd sold it, right?
That's down from, the house she's got is down from, what's the name of the town we went to? Was it Macclesfield where Pat's got the house?
I think it's
What's the town?
Macclesfield.
What's just outside?
Stockport, is it?
No. It's just outside one of the major cities. I can't think what it was now. Where's it? Is it Manchester? Yeah, it's just outside
Oh, it's
Manchester.
Manchester,
Yeah,
yes.
it's just south of Manchester.
Macclesfield, that's
Can I
right.
have a tea,
Well,
my
Staley-
love?
Yes, I will do, love. Stalybridge is sort of round that area, you know,
Right,
part
okay.
of area. Where Stalybridge is, there's four corners of the country.
Stand out. His mum's taking
There's like there, you go there, you might go to Yorkshire, Derbyshire,
one with Rose
Liverpool,
going and
and
her
so
other
on.
friends going.
Manchester.
Right.
Manchester, Liverpool, Derbyshire, and so on. Like that.
We,
It's good for her to be happy.
Lynn actually came from, was born in Somerset.
Wherever she goes. She's
That's
not
where Grandma, my mother came
Well,
from.
she was born what
I
town
don't
were you
know,
born in?
Shrewsbury or Somerset, I'm not really sure.
She was born in,
Yes, that's
I can't think of the name of the town right now. What's the name of the town you were born in?
Yeovil.
Yeovil.
Yeovil?
Yeovil, Somerset.
Yeovil. J?
Y-E-O-V-I.
Oh, Yeovil sort of thing, like Yeovil, yes, that's
But-
right.
but
That's an
she-
old-fashioned name now.
But the memory that Lynn had was of an old railway house next to a railway
Yes.
near a canal.
Yes.
And it turned out it was just outside Coventry.
No,
Oh, yes.
outside Atherstone.
Yeah, but which was just outside Coventry.
Appleton?
The nearest town was Atherstone.
Wasn't it Appleton?
Atherstone.
It's up in the
Yes.
middle.
I've heard the name, yes. I haven't been
It's north
there.
of Manchester,
Mm.
wasn't it?
It's near Birmingham. Nuneaton. Near
Nuneaton, I've seen it. I've
Yeah,
heard
near.
that.
Anyway,
Nuneaton,
she couldn't remember where it was. Had no
No.
idea. Anyway, we.
Did you find it? Did you go?
Well, I'll tell you the story. Lynn's sister was born in this particular place.
Yes.
Right. So we rang her up. We said we're going to go and find out where you were born. See, so off we go. And we found it was this place. We didn't realise it was this place. Anyway, we're going along the road, and all of a sudden she said, "Stop! This is it." And I went, "What?" She said, "This is the turn off. This is it. That's it." And we turned around, and went back, and that was this Whittington Lane that we'd been looking
Well,
for.
that's long.
And she remembered it.
Yes.
And we went down this.
All the trees.
Isn't it funny?
We went down this little lane
Since I was 8.
and came to the railway line, and there was this. There was no house there. It was gone.
No.
Uh,
There'd be railway houses.
so a railway, it was a condemned railway cottage
Yes,
over there.
that's right.
And over the next hump was this bridge over a canal. It was the canal she remembered as a kid, and it turned out that was where her sister was born.
Yes.
So we walked up to the canal, and there was a one of the boats going through. So we walked down and had a look at it, and the guy said, oh, you know, started talking to him while he was going through the lock. And he said, oh, you want to come for a ride? And I said, oh, well, we've got our car back there. Anyway, Alex and Lynn hopped on board while he went through the lock.
Lovely?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yes.
That's fabulous, yeah.
The marvellous the
It was
canals,
very,
aren't they?
yeah.
They used to go right into Manchester called the ships coming from the canal, ship canal, and the big boats went into Manchester, but not now.
I haven't been to these places when
Well-
I was because we moved
Well,
from
this
there.
guy was
We lived
on
in
his way
Wayne
back
before we
to
came to Australia.
Manchester.
Yes.
and we'd just come from Manchester that
Yeah,
day.
we just drove along the
And it
highway
was going to take him 3 days to get back there on the canal. So they were,
Cars
you know, you got to
everywhere.
go.
Yes.
And I
But yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Oh,
That.
that's
I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't look like
Yeah.
any different
But,
part of the highway
see,
anywhere. It's like
Sadie's
on the Bruce
brother,
Highway.
is still living in the same house in Liverpool.
Went back
That's
to
a
where I
Blackpool
told him,
estate.
and you could
I don't
hardly
know what it
see
is,
the
but-
line.
Blackpool.
It was- you really
And
had
there's
to look
Hartley's
for it
jam
because
works
all
further
over
over,
trees.
and Jacob's
And
biscuit
there it
factory.
There was a
was.
brick
I
factory
found
there
it.
somewhere.
I hadn't been there since I was eight.
I don't know so much about the brick factory.
Yeah.
Jacobs was there, the jam people.
Yeah.
Half the day.
And,
I didn't even know the name of the
No,
town
Hartley's was the jam
near it.
people.
It was
Right.
only
And Jacobs
after
was the
we'd been
biscuit
down the
factory.
lane and done the canal.
And there was a
back
whole
that
new
we drove
estate
on,
there.
and I remembered accurately.
Just not far from
That's where I used to go
in
to
fact, it
school.
could be on the verge of where Ernie lives.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
And the whole of the
Like, I
estate
just
was
moved.
bombed.
I mean, we've done so many
Yeah.
All
miles
bombed, all
around
brand new,
England,
lovely
and I just
houses,
found
all
this
bombed.
tiny little lane.
I've just closed there.
That
That
right?
was called Blackpool Bowl Corner.
I just stood there.
I worked when I left school, I worked in the
That
shop
must be
not
why
far from
I
there,
thought,
Yeah.
opposite the picture theatre, called the Nutshell.
Yeah.
Nutshell.
Well, see, it must have
So that was all bombed up there around
That's
Liverpool
all
as well.
bombed there, yeah. And every church from Rice Lane to Walden, all the way up, all them beautiful old churches were all bombed.
13 months between
Everyone.
the next
And where David was, Harry was christened in the top,
and they took the
in this
baby
beautiful
to show
church.
the other one.
That was
She's
bombed
like,
too. Yeah. And the people have seen be brought out. You go for your shopping next morning, you find all the hose pipes and everything, all in the rubble, they're bringing people out, you know. You've got no idea what they're doing.
Four babies and 3.5.
And there used to be a big, outside the flats where I was, there was a
Canal
front
there,
flat
that
at
was
the
been
top.
for a while.
There was a great
They
big
had 5
truck,
boys
I think it
and
was
the
belonged to the
father.
Americans,
She had
because they were
just
stationed in the,
She had one
where the,
boy, and then she was
horses,
pregnant again.
you know, where the horses used to go,
Yeah.
H.E. race
Henry,
horse.
yeah.
They were stationed there, and there's this great big truck outside with an anti-aircraft gun. Well, you can imagine that anti-aircraft going off outside our front door.
He was a teacher.
And you never knew whether it was yours, and then you'd look out the window on the landing and you'd see all these flares coming
Flashes.
down, and the next thing was boom like that, you know? But we were lucky, all round us was bombed there.
Yeah.
But as I say, people haven't a clue how much I mean, we didn't get as bad like London.
No.
London, Coventry, before we practically bombs to the ground. Coventry.
And I thought, Brother, I think I'm having a really good time.
And London, of course, and Liverpool, Liverpool. We looked out the top window in the flat, a lady above me brought me up there, and we looked out, and the whole booth was in flames.
Yeah.
He's making you one.
He's an interesting fella.
You're making Brian one, aren't you?
Bloody oath, mate. Bloody oath.
Coffee.
Coffee, thanks.
Yeah, oh, you're the coffee man. Yeah, so she,
Yeah.
what was Dad did? He was in the Home Guard, wasn't he? Arthur.
Oh, Arthur was in the Home Guard, yes, in
All right.
Aintree. Now he
Dad's army.
was dodging bombs in Bootle. Well, Liverpool, I mean. We wasn't
Yeah.
in Bootle, in Liverpool. He was out of a night dodging bombs. His brother was in Ireland, enjoying himself. Never went to any fighting or nothing, and he was in the regular army.
Oh, God.
He was over there enjoying himself. Arthur was working all day in the factory in
Yeah.
engineering, and then at night, every other night he'd be at the Home Guard.
Good God.
Yeah. And they made ridicule it, but that's what they were doing.
Yeah, well,
Guarding the place.
I know Dad used to say that because he was a reserved occupation,
Yes,
you
Well, Arthur was. He
he'd
didn't
never
go
been
to
able
war.
to serve in the army,
yes.
and so he never ever got a war pension or anything like that,
That's
even
right,
though they
no.
were in the thick of it virtually.
Well, that's it.
You know,
That's
just
awesome.
video.
Here's the thing.
You have to be in a war zone.
That's right, yes.
That's what it was.
But they were bloody in a war
If
zone.
you didn't
Yeah.
call that a war
Yeah.
zone, what was
Yeah.
it when with bombs all round us?
Today, we're moving them from Darwin to Takahonda.
Yeah, they're coming into
I said,
Australia.
oh,
Eric
yeah,
said the men that were
Darwin,
fighting
but
over
they've
there
been
had no
for a
idea
while.
what we were
They're
going
moving them
to.
now to Papatania.
Because they're getting ready for the next lot.
And in London, of course, that was
You
dreadful.
have to eat
Anyway, that's
Timor.
They've got to go.
trying to stay alive at that stage,
You
wasn't
were,
it?
yes.
Free, so
Other nights, we'd go into the bed, into the bathroom or somewhere, because the shelter we were offered was around the corner. So we used to go in the bathroom. And one night this great big thing came down, and Arthur threw himself on top of us. We were all laying on a mattress in the
And
bathroom.
not only that,
They were all young then, you know.
Some of them have snuck through, didn't
yeah.
they?
So do you remember any of that, Dave? I mean, how old when
No,
were
he
you
was born
born?
in 42.
My first
So you're in the middle of it.
Oh, he was 42. The time he
my
was
first
3.
were in Staley
Yes, the time he was 3, we were in
From
Staley
18
Bridge.
which is really
Actually, I
hard.
went to Staley Bridge not long after he was born.
And into Papatania. They've got no
You know,
choice.
my
Got a bit
earliest
of them where
memory
they come from.
is of
So I was thinking, gee, I hope
Goodman
they've got
Road.
some warm guys.
Standing at the fence, which seemed like it was about this high. I can remember that, so it must have only been about this high.
Well, a photograph I've got, you're on the edge of the water here in Australia,
Yeah.
and you were a little tiny thing like that.
Well, I can remember standing in this fence and looking out and wishing I could get outside, like, you know, because I wanted to go and play. I couldn't get out.
Where was this?
Goodman Road.
Goodman Road, yes.
This is South Australia.
67 Goodman Road, that's where they lived.
Do you remember your brothers and all that?
We've got it down on record.
I remember my first day of school, going to school, because I was in grade 1 and Graham was in grade 7.
Brian's
And
dad in Quinny.
so he sort of left
Someone told him on the boat that
when I was just starting.
Of course, they wouldn't have been playing with it
Before
because
they
you
came
were
on
only
the
a
boat,
baby.
I do have some
Once
memory.
you got
I'll tell you
on the boat, you
one
went to
memory I have of
destination.
Goodman Road. I remember one memory of Goodman Road
Must have
was
been a big thing to leave.
was Dad having a works party.
The only thing I remember then,
I'm 45.
Well, you imagine 42 years of age.
No, no.
Up and starting a new life.
One memory I have of Goodman Road was one Christmas where Dad was having a works party.
oh,
And you probably don't know this now.
no,
And I remember all of a sudden all these guys turned up with a ute from work.
that's right. They
And
used to
they-
have that party at work.
Yeah, and they all came in, carried the piano out and put it on the back of the ute
Oh,
and
yes.
took it to work.
Yes.
And they were all half tanks.
They used to finish about 3 and then they'd have a party at work, and then they used to go and have a little bit of a concert. Sometimes they went to a hotel in Salisbury, and this man used to come round after said, with a big basket full of pies and sausage rolls and things, because men were all half gone, you know, and eating all these pies and things. He'd done a good
Well,
business.
I remember that piano getting carried out. I
Yes.
remember
Good.
they were all half tanked, you know. Funny things you remember.
Oh, it was good.
And I remember the pit. We had a garage
Yes.
in Goodman Road, and I
That's
remember the boys dug this pit by hand.
Well, there's that many cars.
It was
Somebody
bloody.
went past one day and asked, was it a garage?
Well, it was really deep because I remember they dug it a bit too deep, like it was sort of 6 foot deep. You know, I think they were digging a bloody grave, I think. And then I remember that we filled it up with rubbish when we were leaving. It took years to fill this bloody thing up with rubbish, you know.
That was when you went to live up in the Downs.
Elizabeth Downs.
Yeah, Campbell Road.
broke away.
We could have gone there, but Arthur said no, we'll stop where we are.
Yeah.
Having blackout.
And when he retired, of course, we did have his super and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We probably could have bought a house with my money and his money at the time when I
Yeah.
got from work, because Josie and Anna bought one in White's Road,
That's right, I remember
and
that.
that was 12,000. A house was 12,000 cash then. You can't believe it, can you? I said no. I said so. I never regretted it because we had all them lovely years for Arthur to enjoy himself.
Yeah.
Because he worked hard enough.
Oh yeah. I always remember going around your house when I was a kid,
Oh, you wrote the, yes.
and I've told you about this, haven't I? Bob was telling me about it. I used to remember you used to have these toys to play with. I used to have a yellow taxi. And I used to remember this thing was made out of metal and it had steering on the front wheels. And it was about that big, I reckon. And I always remember that thing. Must have been either yours or Bob's, you know. I used to think it was great, that taxi. It was a taxi. I remember it was a taxi. Isn't it funny how you remember that? And I know there was other things as well, but that taxi was the one that really stuck in my mind, yeah.
Well, we used to come to your house, and we'd all be in the back garden. Your dad had put a tent up, and the TV came out, and we watched Bonanza. We were all mad on Bonanza then. So you no longer go down to
I remember having the TV out in the front lawn in the summer.
Oh, we've often, well, you see, with no air conditioners then, nobody bothered. We used to lay out on the lawn, and you'd be there when the milkman come about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Natural gambling.
But we had
I don't
thoroughly
think
enjoyed
so.
it,
I
and they
can't
used to have the
remember the
fete
last time
once
I
a
had to
year.
take Antigone.
Yeah.
And it was all the
Birthday
people, all the
celebration.
families that done it.
Yeah.
It got too commercial after that.
Yeah.
Like everything else is commercial. We thoroughly enjoyed coming up here in 75, 77,
Yeah.
79, 82 we came to you, and then you took us up to see Grace in there, St Cairns. And
That was a grand time, wasn't it?
yeah, that was when Arthur
Awful
wasn't
weather,
so
but
good.
we had a wonderful
Yes.
time.
That was lovely there.
I can still see Sadie
That
and
was
Lad there.
at Ellis Beach.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
I've got a
right.
photograph there of you and David and
Yes,
Yeah.
Arthur. I think he's got one. He always had 1 3/4 sock hanging down a bit, you know, just like
You know what I remember most about Uncle Arthur? Driving along in the car, steering with one hand and playing the harmonica with the other.
I don't know whether we ever saw that or we got told about that.
I saw it.
Well,
And
that's how
I remember him singing Danny Boy.
Oh, he was always
Yeah, I remember
singing.
that.
He loved Irish
He
songs.
used to sing.
He had to have a
all the
couple
time
of
to
drinks
our band.
before he started to sing.
Yeah.
And we went to Cats once, you know, well, it was their 25th wedding anniversary. And we went there, and he'd had a few drinks, so of course he couldn't drive the car. So
Yeah.
Graham got behind the wheel, and they put Arthur on the back seat, and he was asleep.
What is that?
So we went to
dog
you.
across the road.
Yeah,
We went
that
to your
dog.
house then in Campbell Road.
Yeah.
We went there, and we let Graham off, and he said good night. He said, I'm all right now, I'll drive. So we got round from Campbell Road and went down to the main road, and he said, isn't it dark? He hadn't put the lights on. We got right down to the main road before he put the lights on.
From here to here, flying here.
Oh, God, all these things you remember.
Of the tree.
We had good times, though, we had marvellous times.
The other thing I remember is Mum and Dad used to clean the offices at Elizabeth South.
Well, your
with
mother
the
started in that house on the
flats, one of the
corner,
flats there.
and then from there she went to the
Yeah.
flats, and then she got the big properties,
Yeah.
the big buildings, Sydney Chambers, and then there was the other chambers opposite with Red.
Valley Chambers.
The housing trust. The rest had the housing trust.
I remember getting up like 6 o'clock on bloody Sunday mornings going and mopping those bloody floors. God.
I used to go sometimes after night when your mum went and dad went on holiday. When they built the place to take to, when they had the place they put in Galway.
Galway, yeah. That's another bloody story, that one.
Oh, it is, yes.
It must have been around the time that Mum died, actually.
Well, all them houses were on sale, you see. You know the airport is
Yeah,
now,
I
the
know,
small
yeah.
airport.
No, it wasn't there. It was back towards Elizabeth. a
Well,
bit.
somebody, yes, that's right, further off.
Where all Michelle's are, or whatever they are.
That's right. Oh, Michelle, the wool place.
Yeah, it's in there.
That's right. And all these little, so they're only about £400, I think. Something
So
like
that must have
that. Yes, the houses.
Yeah, they were the old houses
the
from
house
Jet's Cross.
people in
The
the
housing
wall.
trust. No, they weren't actually. They were the housing trust houses from Jet's Cross.
Were they?
And they moved the whole lot. They were relocatable homes, and then they rebuilt all these houses.
Was this at Pareca?
Yes,
That's
well,
where they were, yeah.
Yeah, along the
They
main
transported
road.
them in Bracker.
Yeah.
and then they put them in this place here, there, as Brown said by Michelle, the wool people.
Yeah.
And they sold them all.
Well, I
they were
remember
taking them all out to the street.
I remember the day we transported that to Galway,
Yes,
and Dad had this sign on the front of his car, wide load following.
that's right. Oh yes, she had the
There was
police or
the
somebody.
EH hold we had a police escort,
Yes.
and I remember taking it down to Galway, and as the truck pulled onto the block, it got bogged, the semi.
Oh my goodness.
So they tried to dig it out for a while and couldn't dig it out, so in the end Dad went into town and found a bloke with a tractor, and the guy with the tractor came out and he pulled it out, but pulled it to the right place, and then they had to put it up on these jacks so they could drive the semi out. So they got it all up on the jacks up to the height, and the tractor pulled the truck out right out of the way. And I remember they were just standing down on the road, and they were just Dad was giving the bloke with the tractor some money for the use of the tractor, and the bloke with the semi was just about to start winding the jacks down. He said, "Look out!" And I saw him run, and the whole house fell from 6 feet.
Oh, no.
And it fell forward and broke its back.
Yeah.
So there was a big to-do about that, because the company that they'd bought the house off was supposed to supply men to go out to unload it off the jacks, and all they'd sent was the truck driver.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's terrible what
So-
they do, isn't it? Yes.
As a compensation, Dad was allowed to go into where all these houses were stored and help himself to anything,
Oh, yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And I remember
materials, sort of,
materials to rebuild because he was a carpenter anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember going in there for bloody God knows how many months, filling up the trailer every Friday.
You think he got his money?
Jeez.
His money's worth, right?
Look at this plane coming straight in towards us. Like,
Yeah.
Where?
up in the air.
Yeah.
See it?
No.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's right there.
There, Mum.
Oh, I can see it, yes.
Oh man, it's a better eyesight than I
There
have.
she is.
Yeah.
Look,
Higher, higher.
through there.
Oh, now, oh, good.
So I remember taking all this bloody washing troughs and pedestals and he ended up the house, because it had fallen forward, was about 5 foot closer to the road than the council limit was allowed.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to move the house back 5 feet. And so Dad made this thing up with these rollers out of pipe and hardwood, and then him and the boys, it must have been Alan and Graham or John or whatever, they had the E.H. Holden hooked up with a chain on these wooden tracks that they'd made, and they had crowbars, and they were inching it back, and I still remember this E.H. Holden on these wooden tracks with smoke pouring off the tyres. It was unreal. I don't know how old I was. I know I wasn't helping. I must have been too young to help, but things haven't changed, I suppose. But anyway, I must have been, that must have been around the time Mum died.
Well, while they, no, not quite. While they lived there, you were going out, you were friends.
Well, I didn't help, I know that.
You remember second-hand?
I might have been pushing a bit or something.
Ryan? No, you were under 14 then.
Yeah, I would have been.
You know when, you know the second-hand place in Smithfield?
Yeah,
You were friends with his
that's
daughter.
right. Yep.
Well, they built one just next door at one or something, but theirs was high up like that, you see, they had a high one. On stilts.
Was
or
that them?
something.
I know it was somebody from
Yes,
Smithfield.
they were on stilts. And that was the second-hand
Yeah, I remember that.
Hazel,
Was it?
you know Hazel
I don't think.
David?
I don't think it was
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
I don't think. I know who you
thought it was
mean.
Hazel, because you were friends
No,
with the
it was
daughter.
somebody. It was somebody we knew, but it wasn't them.
Well, weren't you friends with the daughter,
Yeah.
Hazel's?
Yeah, but there was someone else that had that house built.
Yes.
It wasn't them, but I
It
don't know
was a
who
high
it
one,
was.
wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was a high set. It was a
Yes.
new Lloyd's
That's right, yes. Lloyd's
home
house,
or something
yeah.
or other. Yeah. Anyway, I remember this house finally. You know, they got it up on these pedestals and all sitting there and everything. And we never had. There was no power there, of course, in those days. And but there was water. Water went past, but there was no power. And I remember we used to have a Caro fridge, and we used to leave it sitting upside down while we were away. And then when we went down, we'd have to turn it up the right way because otherwise the ammonia would settle. And I always remember this bloody Caro fridge and the chip heater that we had to heat the water.
They were marvellous, them chip
You know,
heaters.
chip for a shower outside in the garden.
They had them in
Fire, so I
in
ended up
the-
having
where we
them
went to
outside
live.
working
When we
beside
left
the
your
toilet.
mum, we went to live up Lindop Hill. And we shared the house with this old lady, Mrs. Wayland. And they had a chip heater. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
My
That's
grandmother
just
had a
reminded me of
chip
something
They're
else too.
marvellous things.
I remember Nana went to live at Heinrichs in Lindop.
Yes, that's right. She lived behind.
This one, right up the
We went to Lindop.
Yeah, it was a
We
butcher.
went up towards the
Turn-
old church.
That's right. Turn
And he
left.
turned right. I turned right there
Right,
and then
okay.
left. And the man that rented it to her, he was a small goods man.
Small goods, yeah.
Small goods.
Yeah, they had their own abattoirs there.
Yes, that's right.
Because I remember going
He
there.
was small goods, and of course Mother got them off him as well.
Yeah. I remember going there and he had a son who was about my age, a little bit older than me, and he took me out shooting with the bloody slug gun. I think he had a 22. And he gave me this slug gun, and I remember shooting this bird in the tree. And I was horrified because it died. Like, you know, there was this bird, I killed it. So I never ever did that again. But I also remember going to the abattoirs and seeing these cows hanging and blood, just blood everywhere. Just, oh, God, I just went, oh shit. I don't know how old I would have been there, but remember we used to go up and see that. But getting back to the house at Galway, I know that
Dad
after
took
Mum
me to see
died.
it, you know, the last time we were
Yeah,
there.
right.
Yes. It looked fine.
Yeah, I went down
It
for
was
it one
still
time.
there, yes. But hasn't it altered?
Yeah.
Where we used to go to the sand hills and that, you know, to the
Massive
beach.
straight car
And
park.
Grandma loved it there.
Yeah. Huge car park. Yeah.
Well, I told somebody the other week, I had you by the hand,
Yeah.
and that water, oh, it was this week. Well, but you know you were with me.
What's that,
You know when we saw you man swimming?
Yeah.
And I said to you, when I used to go to Goulwa, and Brian was a little boy, And I used to hold him by the hand when we went in the water.
That's right.
Because he was going to be dashing in the water.
It was rough water,
And
neither.
yes, and as you
So
came,
very
at
bad
the time
undertow,
when you were standing there, remember me telling you?
Yeah.
And as it went out, you took your feet almost with
Yeah.
it. The force of the water going back into this.
Yeah, undertow, yeah.
The
Very
undertow.
bad gore, yeah.
Terrific undertow. And I was hanging on to him, you know. I said, come on, you come on.
Well, I remember going down there, like, and we used to take Lassie down there,
Yes.
and she used to run for miles on the beach
That's right.
chasing the seagulls.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
She was
there
getting on,
never,
you see, when she had Rita's dog.
well, there was never anybody else on the beach.
No,
You know,
it was all isolated sort of thing. Remember Graham's Mount, was it called?
Graham's
It's a
man.
place like an old castle. Graham's Castle.
Graham's Castle.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one for a
We
long
saw
time.
that when we went the last time.
Yeah. It was an art studio.
And I reckon I've been since we went on a club. I said, look, they're not all the same now, Graham. It's absolutely packed out
Most
now.
of it, yeah.
It's packed out where we were.
Look at this place.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Can you imagine what this was like in 75
Yeah.
when we first came up?
We came in '78 and you could buy a new house down here at Kawana Waters, house and land deal for 21,000.
That's right. Well, these blocks of land in
We went
Dover,
home to Adelaide, sold our house, moved back up here 2 years later,
Yes.
and they were 32. They'd gone up
That's right.
10,000. We couldn't afford it.
no, well, that was like the ones that Josie bought.
In 2 years, they've gone up
No, they
$10,000.
don't tell
Yeah,
us,
no,
yes, no.
Really?
Nearly dry. Put on the back of one of these. Put on this step. I think you lint on the ground because you can't leave them
I can
around
think
wet.
of Noosa when I came up in 75 to have a look at it.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
was just nothing there. There was a beautiful caravan park right on the end of this bit where the
Right on the beach.
river is. Right on the end of the river. Oh, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
caravan park. It was.
Beautiful.
But of course now it's all bloody.
No, everything's altered now.
And Swanton was only a little tiny thing. They had a caravan park in Swanton as well. And
Yes.
it's all gone.
No, we've had a lovely time. I wouldn't have missed it for the world, you know, what we've had, especially with your dad and Sadie. Wonderful times. I only used to feel sorry your mum wasn't with us.
Yeah.
Because she worked so hard to get her business going.
Yep.
And then she went, you know. But that's life, isn't it? Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's can be good or can be bad, can't it?
Yes, that's right. But you brought all you boys here,
Yeah.
and you've all done well. Yes. Your dad and mum will be very proud of you.
Mm.
Well, of course, your dad saw how you progressed, because he's with you and Yandina.
Yeah.
You were in the second house when he went to hospital, weren't you? You know the one we saw with floods come?
Yeah.
He wasn't there, was he?
Yeah.
Was he still there when he died?
Yeah.
That's right, because they all came up. Robert and
The
John
funeral.
and Graham came up, didn't they? That's right. And then picked Alan up on the way, or Alan came on his own.
Alan came in down.
Yes.
That was about the last time I ever spoke to John.
To who?
John?
He never comes near us, does he, John? Never see him.
I saw him last at Dad's funeral.
Yes. Well, I mean, good Lord, that was 89. That was 90 was Les, and then...
Graham said he actually turned up on their doorstep one day.
Oh, he did, yes.
Yeah, not that long ago.
That's right.
And he came round to your place, round the Bob's place.
I think I've seen him.
Him and
I can't
Elaine.
remember.
Yeah, they came around. They came around to see you that you had a party or something there, a party plan or a sale thing or something or other.
Was it
going
the
on?
wine that night?
Wine tasting? Yeah.
Might have been. I can't remember.
They turned up for that every night.
Yeah, I can't remember. They used to go on. They used to come to in June because they used to have this, you know, the barn festival, the barn dance at the school. You know, Sandy Creek for the girls and the more went to when they were young. They used to come once a year to that every June, and then all of a sudden they knocked it off and never bothered. You know. Of course, they've got how many? They've got Francine's got 2, and Melissa's got 4 grandchildren now.
Really?
Yeah.
You do get wrapped up in your own life, there's no doubt about
I
that.
know, yes, but that was before they had grandchildren. They never came near anybody.
But the only
I was
trouble-
explaining to Yvonne, no, it's Lynn, I think, how they seem to, they used to come to our house on Sunday afternoon, have afternoon tea, we'd all be in the back garden, you know, David and Gail were there, and Eileen and